Okay, so I've got the Miami Dolphins depth chart up here. So I'll just go through the roster here, position by position, just give my thoughts on kind of the team as a whole and how they're shaping out. So start with the receiver position. They've got Devontae Parker, who's a pretty decent receiver. Probably hasn't lived up to really the expectations he had coming out of college. But he has been very solid. Kind of had his breakout year before this season, where he was very good. Last year he was also pretty good, kind of more that contested catcher, middle of the field type player because he's not really got amazing speed, but he's a pretty decent receiver. Definitely decent number one receiver for the Dolphins. They don't really need like that massive star there. And Devontae Parker definitely fills that role. They also got Will Fuller, one of the best deep threats in the league. He's just dealt with a lot of injuries. So we'll have to see if he can stay healthy in Miami. I mean, if he does, then I think he could be amazing because he's like pretty much been a number one receiver when he has been healthy last year with Houston, and just very good deep threat, like amazing speed. We'll just have to see if he stays healthy because they do got a lot of depth. Like I think Jalen Waddle could definitely get a ton of playing time. I feel like it'd be Jalen Waddle and like Preston Williams rotating in and out most of the time, and maybe Jalen Waddle like comes in for like Will Fuller at point. They're pretty similar receivers in like the aspect that they're like both have really good speed. Will Fuller probably a better route runner, really. Jalen Waddle probably more run after catch. I think Jalen Waddle could definitely start in the slot. And I think if Will Fuller does get injured, like Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Jalen Waddle in the slot, that's a pretty good top three receivers. I mean, Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, and Jalen Waddle, that'd be pretty nasty. I mean, I did like Jalen Waddle. I feel like they could have done better in the draft with their first round, like trading back up to get Jalen Waddle and all this stuff they did. But I mean, I like the player, and I mean, Will Fuller only 1 year contract, maybe future replacement. Even though Tua doesn't have a massive arm. Lynn Bowden also showed some pretty decent play last year. He was actually pretty decent, kind of a hybrid player, can play running back also. Very versatile, so I think he's pretty decent there. And pretty good backup. Jakeem Grant also being another deep threat, really pretty good. Like when he actually gets some snaps, he can be a pretty decent receiver. Is nothing really special, kind of more of a special teamer returner. He's alright. Same with Robert Foster. We'll see what he can do. Maybe he makes the roster. We'll have to see. Alan Hearns also kind of just being plagued with injuries at the same time. He's all right. I mean, it's good depth really if he does stay on the roster. They also got Albert Wilson, who was like a starting receiver for them, but had like injuries. I think he opted out. So I don't know if he'll make the roster. He definitely could. I mean, he's probably better than some of the receivers they have listed before him. Matt Collins is also pretty decent as kind of a 50-50 jump ball receiver, kind of contested catcher. He shows some play. So the receiver group is very solid. Malcolm Perry also is decent. Like I think the receiver group is very good and kind of no excuses for Tua and that receiving option. The offensive line though, I mean a lot of question marks. Austin Jackson last year wasn't amazing. He got better definitely. I thought he would be worse to be honest. Last year I hated the draft pick. So I think he did play all right for what I initially thought. I definitely think he can improve because tackle is a very hard position to play. They don't have a true off season or anything. So we'll have to see with Austin Jackson if he is that future set in stone left tackle. He definitely got a lot of development. Jesse Davis also was drafted very high, hasn't really worked out. I mean, as a backup, really, I think it's fine. Larnell Coleman is actually a pretty decent draft pick. Like, he's an amazing athlete, has some upside, hasn't really had a ton of play in college, just had some really good snaps. And I think it was I think you could definitely take a shot on him. You could have yourself a good rotational player, I think, and versatile across the whole offensive line. So I did like that. And I mean, the interior, they could do a lot of different stuff. They have Michael Dieter lifted at left guard. Jeez, get off my screen. I mean, right tackle really going to be the big question. They got Robert Hunt who played there last year. He was actually pretty decent, to be honest, for like a guard moving to tackle, like second round pick, not bad. I think he could improve. I think he like the Dolphins could improve. They do have DJ Fluker, who's a pretty decent back, like veteran. I don't really know if he's an amazing starter anymore, but he might start on the Dolphins. We'll have to see. I mean, I think Solomon Kinley can definitely take that right guard role. He was all right last year. Matt Skura probably going to be the center. Bro, what is happening? Are you seeing this? Matt Skura probably going to be the center. He's not amazing. I mean, they don't really got anybody else who can really play the center position. Michael Dieter probably not going to be a starter. He's kind of a trash offensive lineman. Liam Eichenberg's definitely the interesting one. If they start him at guard straight away, or they start him at right tackle or left tackle, maybe move Austin Jackson to right tackle, have Liam Eichenberg play left, which would seem more natural, and then you put Robert Hunt in the inside. I think that would definitely work better, or they could just pretty much just move Liam Eichenberg to guard because he does have shorter arms and kind of fits guard profile. But I think if you start Liam Eichenberg at right tackle, I think he can be better than Robert Hunt. I think Robert Hunt can be a really good guard. So I think you move maybe Solomon Kinley. You have Solomon Kinley, Robert Hunt on the inside, Austin Jackson right tackle, Liam Eichenberg left tackle. That's pretty decent. And they got some players that can back them up. So I think that'd be a good option. And tight end, Mike Gesicki, really versatile tight end. He's very good, really good receiving threat. So you like what you got there. Hunter Long, probably going to be that second tight end. They drafted him in the third round, I believe. I didn't love the pick a ton because you kind of already got your number one tight end. I think Hunter Long can bring something to your offense. He is a good blocker, which kind of Mike Gesicki isn't the greatest at. He's all right, but I think Hunter Long can bring a good blocker and also a good receiving threat. Like Hunter Long was a good receiver at Boston College, so I think he could definitely be used a lot in this offense. Also got Dermot Smith, and Adam Shaheen. They're a pretty decent backup. Keithan Carter played fullback and tight end. We'll see if he makes the roster. So very intriguing tight end. I think it's very solid. Like overall, the receiving threats are pretty good. And the big position quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. Damn, it was a bit rough last year for Tua, to say the least. I mean, he had some flashes, but mostly just wasn't really amazing. I think he definitely can be better next year. We'll have to see. I'm not really that high on him. I don't know if he really can be that good because there was a lot of concerns coming out of college, and I just don't really know how well he can do really next year. He's got everything to there's no excuses pretty much. He's got the weapons. I think the O line could be the only excuse, but I think it's pretty decent offensive line if they move some players around. So Tua Tagovailoa definitely needs to take a step up if they want to name him as their franchise quarterback. They also got Jacoby Brissett. That's a really good backup. He could maybe get some playing time next year if Tua is really struggling at points. You put in Jacoby Brissett, he can run your offense. Very smart player, just a good reliable backup. Can be a good mentor also to Tua. And running back position, not the strongest. They got Myles Gaskin, who has shown pretty decent play for Miami. He's been a pretty versatile player, kind of being a smaller back, kind of speedy, elusive player. So he could definitely be the number one running back. They also got Malcolm Brown, who I think could definitely compete for that number one spot. He was pretty good at Los Angeles. Good all-round running back. They don't really got that big running back, though, like that one that can really go offensive line, really go short yardage. But I think Malcolm Brown can be a good rotational player. I think he could get a lot of snaps, probably be that second running back. I mean, Jared Doakes probably be more that power back. I mean, I probably wouldn't have drafted Jared Doakes, to be honest. Probably would have just got him undrafted. But he was a pretty decent running back at Cincinnati. Definitely a bigger back. So I just ignore what I said earlier. They don't really have a big back. Jared Doakes definitely is that. But he also has some pretty decent athleticism, so that's pretty good. Patrick Laird's been all right. I mean, Salvin Ahmed actually showed some pretty decent play last year, kind of being another shorter running back who's very shifty and elusive. So that's fine. I mean, let's just go into the defense then. Defensive line we'll start off with. They got Christian Wilkins, of course. They did draft him very highly. He has been pretty decent. Very good stopping the run, to be honest. Not amazing pass rusher. Like they probably wouldn't have drafted him um, if they had a redraft, to be honest. But like he's still been good. Like he's still young, also very big, good run stopper. Kind of rush the passer at points, but not really his game. But he is pretty decent. Just not. He's not really going to give you much, really. Like he's not like really a game changer, to be honest. But he is good. Raekwon Davis showed some pretty good flashes last year. You could definitely start that nose tackle with him, but you know Christian Wilkins is going to be that other, definitely locked in at that other defensive tackle position. And then also got Adam Butler to compete for that starting. It'll probably be Raekwon Davis or Adam Butler taking that other defensive tackle position. Adam Butler's been very solid for New England, just all around good, solid player who's just kind of good at everything pretty much. So that's a good player. John Jenkins, fine rotational player. Even Benito Jones was all right last year. Like Jason Strowbridge, he got some playing time. Zach Sealer here is more of a defensive tackle that they have lifted at defensive end, but I mean they're running a 3-4, so yeah, he's definitely pretty decent. Jonathan Ledbetter, and then Emmanuel Ogba. He'll rush the passer more from the defensive end, but it's pretty big. He can definitely play the inside. He was pretty good last year. Had kind of a breakout year, you could say. Was good, like all around pretty solid. So I think that's a good player, good run stopper, decent pass rusher. Like they don't really got a standout pass rusher, but I think they could have somebody who they drafted, and that would be Jalen Phillips. I think he could definitely take that role of Kyle Van Noy, kind of being that outside linebacker, because he's a very good athlete. I did like Jalen Phillips. I mean, if he is healthy, I think he can be a stud, really. He could be possibly a top 10 pass rusher in the league, top 5 even, like, if he lives up to, I mean, his ceiling, I think, really is that. Like, I think he was so refined coming out of college, really complete player. It was just those injury concerns that made him drop. Probably would have been drafted much higher if he didn't have those concerns. But I think he could definitely start straight away on the other pass rush position. And they've got some pretty good backups, like Sam Eguavoen. He's a decent backup. Andrew Van Ginkel, actually, they could probably use in quite a lot of like lineups, really, because I mean he's an alright rotational player. Like they got some depth really on the defensive line. It's not amazing, but they don't really have like a standout player. But I think they've got some pretty solid players. Brandon Scarlett, kind of more of a linebacker, rotate in there. He's pretty good, more of a special teamer. Vince Beagle actually rushed the passer at some points, and he was actually good. Like he was actually surprisingly pretty good for the Dolphins, and then got injured. So we'll see with him. And I mean, the two starting linebackers are going to be Jerome Baker and Nick McKinney. Jerome Baker was very good last year, has been kind of his whole career, just being a very stable linebacker, very reliable, good in coverage. And I mean, Bernard McKinney kind of brings more of that run stopper because he's a really big linebacker, kind of a liability in pass coverage. But as a run stopper, he will definitely help out this team. So I think that's a good linebacker duo. Duke Riley also, he's kind of more of a coverage linebacker. So you can maybe see him coming in, or Brandon Scarlett for more passing downs instead of Bernard McKinney, who's kind of a liability. And Landon Roberts also kind of just a good backup, another run stopping linebacker. Let's go on to secondary. Cornerback position, very solid. Byron Jones, Xavier Howard. There were two stars. Xavier Howard led the league in picks, was very locked down. So just a ball hawker. We'll see if he can repeat what he did last year. Probably not. He could definitely take a step back because it was just that good. But we'll have to see. Still very solid corner. And same with Byron Jones, who they paid a ton of money. You would maybe like to see a bit more because he did get like at points in last year, just get burnt really. To be honest, just to put it lightly, he just kind of was a bit of a liability at points, but he's still a very solid corner. Like he has been his whole career, and he's still pretty young. So I mean, him and Xavier Howard, that's a very good cornerback duo. Oh my God, can I freaking read the roster? Slot, yeah, probably gonna be Justin Coleman or Jason McCourty, to be honest. One of those dudes. They're probably gonna battle out for that spot. I think Justin Coleman probably wins that because he was pretty good slot corner when he was healthy last year and the year before. And I mean, that those three cornerbacks, that's sounding very good for the Dolphins. Those three, like, their overall secondaries is looking good. And that cornerback group, they've got a ton of depth also. Can I freaking read this? Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, Justin Coleman, good player, but I can't look at anybody else. Oh, Jesus, yeah, they brought in Jason McCourty, man. Okay, whatever. Old freaking player who's just like not amazing anymore. Okay, whatever. He's a backup. Okay, so that's a fine backup. Noah Monogany. Yeah, I mean, he showed some flashes last year, but I didn't. I mean, they drafted him in the first round, and then they just kind of bury him on the depth chart. So we'll see. He probably won't get a ton of playing time, to be honest, unless a bunch of injuries happen. Maybe more of a future player, or they just completely given up on him. But Justin Coleman only a 1 year contract. I think Jason McCourty was also. They do have Nick Needham, who has shown some pretty decent cornerback play at points. Another dude who just gets pushed down the depth chart with all the like. Why did they have to bring in Jason McCourty? I didn't really think they needed to do that. They kind of got their slot corner, and he can't really play on the outside very well anymore. Kind of just more of a veteran. I guess they just want veteran presence, but you're kind of ruining these guys' development. They're Trill Williams. I think will probably play safety. They have him lifted here. They stole him from my New Orleans Saints. I was very annoyed because the Saints were trying to re-sign him after they cut him because of failed physical. And I thought he was probably our best undrafted free agency signing. He was a very good player at Syracuse. People had him like, I mean, I personally, like, I thought he would go in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round. So him dropping to undrafted free agency, I think he could give you a very versatile player. I think he could definitely make the roster because their safety position outside of Eric Rowe, Javon Holland, there's some question marks. I mean, Brandon Jones probably locked in, but like out of that, like Clayton Fejedelum, kind of more of a special teamer, really. That's his role. Doesn't really come in for that much. So I think Trill Williams, he's definitely better than Brian Cole and Nate Holy. So I think he can make the roster because he also can play cornerback. That is what he played in college quite a lot of the time. So yeah, and the safety position, Eric Rowe, kind of being a very versatile player for them, plays that safety position, but also covers people as a like in the slot, but he probably won't do that for them much. Could definitely play in the box. That is what he's played quite a lot of. So yeah, Javon Holland also, I thought it was a good draft pick. Like he's very versatile. Was just good everywhere that you played him at Oregon. I think he probably plays free safety for them. But kind of a player, he can play outside corner, he can play slot corner at a very high level. Like I thought he could have been just drafted as a corner really, because he was good in the slot, like very good in the slot. But I think he probably plays free safety, and I think that's a really good player. Like I think just use him all over the field because that's what he's just good at. Just if you want him to play in the slot, do it. I know you got Justin Coleman, but like you can cover tight ends and everything. Very physical players. I like it. Their safety position, like they've got like these top three safeties, including Brandon Jones, who's a very versatile player who they got from Texas last year, who showed some flashes. So I think that like he could be pretty decent. He probably won't. I don't know how much playing time he gets, but they do like to rotate people in and out. And I did like Brandon Jones last year. He looked pretty good. So all these three players, very versatile. Not really a player that's just kind of stuck at one position. So it's very intriguing for the secondary. I mean, they could be a good team next year. I think like the whole thing pretty much depends on Tua and the offensive line. Like I think all their other position groups are good. Like I think their defensive line just kind of average. Really, that could be the only thing. But I think Jalen Phillips could be a really good pass rusher like week 1. something that could help your defensive line. I think their secondary is very good. They got a lot of depth. Like literally just going down to like Nick Needham and Noah Igbinoghenu. They've got a ton of depth. So I think their secondary is good. Linebacker position, Jerome Baker, Bernard McHenry, they're pretty decent. They also got depth there. So I think their defense is fine. Running back position, it's not a big deal if you don't have a true number one running back, because running back position is not really that valuable. You just offensive line much more valuable. Receiver position definitely good. They got some good depth. It is. I mean, Will Fuller gets injured. They even got some players to step in. Again, just offensive line and Tua. If they rotate, it's going to be interesting what they roll out with in week one, because they could go a ton of different ways on the offensive line. So we'll have to see. And I mean, quickly go over the special teams. Michael Plardy and Jason Sanders, very solid. Jason Sanders was a very good punter. I mean, kicker last year. And Michael Plardy, that was a pretty decent pickup to replace Matt Hack. Kick return, probably going to be Jakeem Grant. Noah Bignogany could maybe get some snaps there with just kind of probably not getting a ton of corner snaps. But that's it for the Dolphins, and see ya.